So there were 2 courts. Victory Park, the entrance still stays there, made of shells, and my pro shop was a Pepsi Cola machine with an umbrella through the middle. 2 courts with iron mesh nets so the kids couldn't take them away. And I started law school. So the dean came to me, he said, Mr. Bollettieri, you have to dress up like a lawyer. Second time he came because I was in my shorts to go to work to teach some tennis. Mr. Bollettieri, you have to dress up as a lawyer. Third time, I said, Dean, you know what you can do with the books. So I lasted 3 months. However, I said to myself, how could I get to know a little bit about tennis? So down the street, Henderson Park, there was a great teacher. His name was Slim Harper. So I would go down and I'd watch him teach. Hold the racket like this, put your hand on it, shake hands. So your thumb and V, form a little V down the middle. Are you ready? 1, yes. 2, yes. 3, hit, don't move. Don't move. What the hell, I said I could do that. So I began teaching. $3 an hour. $3. Then I got Cheryl Smith, who won the National 14. Brian Godfrey came. And I said, you know, there are no 2 human beings alike. What most coaches try to do is try to get them to hit one certain way. Now, there are certain fundamentals that pertain to everybody. Good ready position, early take back, weight transfer, okay. So, I started, and then I went into the camp in Springfield, Ohio. But before I went, about 2 years after I'm in North Miami Beach, my uncle and the water commissioner said, let's have a picnic. We invited the whole town, provided the food, and I began talking, and I said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, our mayor is going to take the first shovelful of dirt for the next 6 courts. The mayor knew nothing about it. He looked over at my uncle and the water commission. They said, dig. The mayor dug. We had 6 courts. The town began to flourish in tennis. And then I got a job in Springfield, Ohio, ran by a wonderful man by the name of Dr. Howard Dredge. And every Wednesday and Saturday, 1,500 kids came dressed in white. 25 cents is what it cost them to pay for the bus. So we started. And then we ran the Western's Tournament, which was the warm-up for the Nationals in Kalamazoo. Arthur Ashe was there, Clark Gravener, Dennis Ralston, Charlie Passarella. So a lady came into the shop and she said, can I borrow a few balls for my son to practice his serve? I said, yes, ma'am. Gave her the ball, she came back, she said, what do I owe you? I said, nothing. She said, you're a very nice young man. And she said goodbye. In the latter part of August, I get a phone call. Mr. Bollettieri, you, among many names, to be the director of tennis for the Rockefeller Hotels and spending time at Dorado Beach in Puerto Rico. I said, okay, thank you. I didn't know what she was talking about. At that time, the Nationals were at Forest Hills. I had to go over the fence at that time, baby. I was nobody. So I went into the pro shop, and Eddie Moylan was the head coach, and Bill Parks was the assistant. And Ed said, Nick, how are you doing? I said, fine. He said, where are you going to go in the winter? I said, I'm going to go back to the Sahara Motel at Miami Beach. He said, we just landed a hell of a job. He said, we're going to be the new director of the Rockefeller Hotels. I didn't say a word, call my dad. I said, Dad, I didn't get the job. He said, son, who told you that? I said, the guy who got the job. My daddy said, don't say a word. On Monday, I get the phone call, I got the job. And you know who that lady was that came in the shop? Dora Passarella. whose son was Charlie, who had the big Philip Morris business down in the islands, who knew Lawrence Rockefeller. I got the job. My daddy taught me something. Wait until the right person tells you yes and no. So we started. And I started with summer camps. And then finally, after many years, I said, it's time to come back and spend the whole year in America. Came back, got a few jobs, ended up in the Badminton Tennis Club in Lake Bluff, Illinois. And this lady came up, and I was with Brian Godfrey, who was 12 years old, my son, who was about 10, and said, you know, your sisters can't eat with you and people. And I said, lady, can you read? She said, read my contract. This was the same lady who complained all the time that the courts were dry. So you know what I did, everybody? I put her on the main court that had the most powerful sprinklers. And baby, I turned them on. She came to me, she said, you know who I am? I said, I don't give a damn who you are. She said, I'm the president's wife. I said, you have two choices. Buy out my contract, so get the hell out of here, and don't bother me for the rest of the summer. So I picked up the phone, and I made a phone call to two people. When it was at Dorado Beach, a nice man came by, and he said, Nick, you belong with children. And he loved golf, and I sent golf balls every year up to Green Bay Packers. And he said, you belong with children. So when I finished the contract there, I called Vince Lombardi up, and he got me the big tennis camp in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, 1,399 beavers, and I had to be the coach of the ladies' team. It was cold, baby. Al McGuire started the basketball, Nick Bollettieri started the tennis. Kids came from all over the world. Jimmy Arias, Van Winnissy, the Cricksteins, Carleen Bassett. So then I said, gee whiz, maybe I ought to start something. So when I left Dorado Beach, I get a phone call from my good friend Mike De Palma, Sr. And he said, Nick, a great job is opened at Colony Beach Hotel on Longboat Key. So Julio and I drive over, and it was sunset and the surf was up. I said, baby, we're going to take this job. We got the job. It became the #1 tennis resort of the world. But we started a little junior program, and one day before the Orange Bowl, a little girl came up, a little blonde-headed girl, 12 years old, took a lesson. I said, is your daddy going to pick you up? She said, no, I'm going to come home with you. Her daddy was John Bassett. Started the World Football League. Little girl came home. 2 weeks later, Volkswagen pulls up. Little kid gets out, about 5'4", father 5'5". Heard a little bit about it from Buffalo.
Yeah.
I said, son, go down to court 3. There was Chip Hooper, 6'6". Ladies and gentlemen, he hit the ball, wrapped it around the head, jumped off the ground. I said, Chip, this is voluntary forehand. Jimmy Arias. He started the power game. He had that cockamamie grip, jumped off his feet, wrapped the racket around the back of his head. That became the voluntary forehand. Took him home. And Aaron Crickstein came. I think my third wife left. Then pretty soon another 5 or 6. I had 10 in my house. 10. So, gee, I said, can't fit anymore. My friend lent me some money. I bought a motel in Bradenton and a club with 18 courts. The motel, 2 in the room, I put 8 in the room. The feet were sticking out the doors. I filled the swimming pool with cement for the study hall. We broke down 2 walls, the dining room. But I had a friend of mine who was a Marine sergeant, retired, baby, spit shine the shoes, March. We should have been locked up. Fortunately, we got through it. 1981, my good friend who sent his children to me when I was at the Colony, came to Dorado Beach, Mr. Lewis Marks, his daddy was Marks Toys. I said, Lewis, I'd like to build an academy. He said, how much you need, Nick? I need $2 million. Here it is. Bought 40 acres of tomatoes, and the vote went down to 3-3, and there was one unit there that said this is going to become a drug haven. My friend the judge voted the deciding vote. We built the first live-in tennis academy of the world. Okay? The people who work for me. Nick, what's the schedule during the day? What's the schedule? What do you mean, what's the schedule? All day, all night. Okay, Nick. Nick, what about vacations? I don't know about vacations. How many days a week? Is there 7? 7. How much we're going to make? We'll talk about it later. That's how I started, baby. That's how we started the academy. 60 Minutes came on. And this Wally Safer was the interviewer, and there was a psychologist from Stanford being interviewed. What do you think about this idea of Nick with a living? He's crazy. He takes kids out of his house, out of their houses. He doesn't feed them. He beats them up. He makes them wash the cars, which I did. So my mother now, we're all Italian, she's watching the television. She hears this. My dad's a quiet guy. My mother started, la faccia brutti, la brutti bestia, started cursing at the television. She said to my father, she said, Jimmy, why are you talking so bad about our son? Listen to what my daddy said. He said, Mary, when you ain't nobody going to talk about you. And no matter what they say, you say, thank you. And my daddy said, you never argue with the critic, because even if you win the argument, you win nothing. You let the results of what you do in life do the speaking. And that's how the academy started. 1987, my accountant said, Nick, we're going broke. I said, what, we have people? He said, Nick, you never charged anybody. But I had 10 number ones, baby. So I sold it for $7 million, paid $6.5 million in debts, $500,000 for an alimony settlement. I ended up with nothing. But I ended up with the reputation of starting the first thing, the Academy of the World. Why are there only a few number ones in the world? Because you have to be crazy enough to take a chance and not be frightened of failure. The majority of people in life do what they know they can do. They're afraid to take a chance. We live in a black Italian neighborhood. One of my neighbors had a beautiful cherry tree. We climbed the tree. My buddies reached out on the branches. Not Nick, baby. I went out on the branches where the cherries were. 2 doors later, down the street from us, the lady had beautiful lilacs. Cut the lilacs, knocked on the door, she bought her own lilacs. That's Nick, okay? God gave me the gift to read people. To read people. So we're in high school. There was a biology teacher about 5'5". I watched her very closely. When she asked a question, those that looked away, she called on. When she looked at me, never called on me. Never called on me. So whatever I've done in tennis is the ability to read a person and how to reach that person. Too many coaches talk too much. One thing at a time. Know who you're talking to, their mentality, their physical makeup, their mom and dad. What do they do for a living? Is there a divorce in the family? Did they mortgage their home for the kids to go for tennis? You have to know these things. And then you have to know how to reach them. Each one has a different style. Each one have different grips, different physical makeup, different movement. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you know a little bit about the student, you can better reach them. Then, what are their expectations? I'm at the U.S. Open, a lady come up to me and said, Mr. Bollettieri, I have the next Monica Seles. I said, how old is she? She was still in the tummy, not even born. She said, I know she's going to be tall. I know, and my husband was a great athlete. Can you believe this? I do an interesting experiment, and I did it here. I get all the kids, and the parents are behind. I tell the kids, answer yes or no immediately. How many of your parents talk about tennis when you get home? Yes! Here's how people greet their children today. Here's how my grandmother greeted me. She ran the house. Sonny, venez quoi? You a good boy today, son? Yes, Grandma. You listen to the teacher? Yes, Grandma. She didn't ask me how I did in school. She knew I didn't do well. But Grandma first told me she loved me, that I try. Go out and play, Sonny. The majority of parents today greet their children by, did you win? Did you get an A? That's how they greet them. Why is there cheating in tennis when young juniors? Because they're so frightened of not winning, they'll call close balls out. Think about it. Why? They have to answer to the parents. 10 and under program. 5 or 6 years ago, they came to the academy. They said, Nick, what do you think about the program? I said, look at that sign over there. 10 number ones, and then you got Arias, you got Tommy Haas and Konakovas and Mac. Well, what is this? They left. Then I began observing the program. Why are there so many cockamamie grips? Why? When you put a full-size racket in a youngster, 7, 8, 9 years old, and the ball coming at them 30 miles an hour and above their head, what's going to happen? They're going to fight for survival and try to hit it any way they can. Now, the USTA, certainly they have to make some adjustments when some kids speed out ahead. But overall, at this program here, I did the little kids program today. Superb. Superb. The techniques overall are darn good. Now, what's also good about here, and coaches listen to this very carefully, a coach can change the personality of young students for the rest of their life. Imagine a little boy or girl, 8, 9 years old, with 20, 30, 40 other kids, and the coach yells out, whoa, you can't do that. Look at Jimmy. Look at the difference. What do you mean you can't do that? It's terrible. The little kid goes home. He doesn't eat, doesn't want to do his homework, low self-esteem. That child eventually will be subject to drugs, alcohol, violence. Why? There's no self-esteem. Now you can give negative feedback in a positive way. I remember one time, I'm working with Serena. She got mad, bounced the racket, said, I've had enough of this crap, walked over. I said, get your ass back here now. Oh my God. And then later on, Serena said, not even my daddy ever spoke to me. Normally, what I would say, Serena, come over here. Serena, you don't do that. You get back out here. How did I become a better listener? Many years ago, before Christmas time, a young boy comes into the shop, into my office, says, Nick, are you listening? Because I wasn't a good listener then. Yes, I'm listening. He said, Nick, the president of the school wants me to cut my hair. Can you take care of it, Nick? Are you listening, Nick? Andre Agassi. Yeah. I took care of it. Many years ago, a the young boy signed a multi-million-dollar contract with Nike. Played one of his first big matches up in Washington, the Lake Mason tournament. Goes out in the quarters to feature match. Duded up a little, nail polish, man, hair down to here. There's a veteran on the other side. He beat the crap out of my boy. I leave the coach's box, go outside. I said to his brother, can you tell me where so-and-so is? I went across the street, there was a park. He's over there breaking his rackets. I said, what's wrong, son? He said, Nick, I don't have it. I can't do it. I said, son, do I wear a watch? No. Don't you ever say can't. You understand me? Yes, Nick. We went to Woodstock, Vermont the next week. Beat Tim Mayotte in the quarters. And John McEnroe said, this kid's going to be good on Vegas. So remember, everybody, you never say can't. You say, I will. And when you fall down, it's how you get back up. I have permanent black and blue marks on my fanny. But my daddy said, it's not how you fall, it's how you get back up. Remember that. Now, coaches, when you talk about physical fitness, you talk about drugs, alcohol, you got to look the ad. I'll be 85, baby. 31 waist. I work out every day. I don't smoke. I've never had a drug. Proud to have been a paratrooper. 4 years ago, one of my new adopted sons, I have two, said to his mother, why does Daddy have a glass of wine every night? I didn't know how to answer it. I've never touched another glass. Then my little son says to his mother, why does Daddy look in the mirror every night? And you know what his mother said? Your daddy loves himself. And I do. I look in the mirror and I say, Nick, you look good, baby. Okay? And I feel special. But when you feel special, everybody, you've got to go out and do special things. Help people. 1987, we're at the French Open. A friend is sitting next to me. Nick, what are we going to do about the hundreds of thousands of boys and girls who never get to hit a ball? Don't worry about it. I started the Ash Voluntary Program in Newark, New Jersey. I funded it until the end of the year when I hoped I would get paid by the mayor. Going into the park, everybody, Arthur was here, police, gun shells on the grass. He looked over his shoulder. Nick, are we coming back? Yes, Arthur. You know what he said? If we don't come back and we give false hope to these children, don't come inside again. The program continued for 13 years. Now, 2 years ago, I was awarded the highest honor, the International Hall of Fame. 230 people are in it from 20 or 30 countries. But this past July, everybody, Nick Voluntary became the first white person to be inducted into the Black Tennis Hall of Fame. So my son says to me, Daddy, you got to work on your tan, baby. But that, to me, is an honor. Why? Because I've tried to help people. I do a lot for the USDA Foundation, inner city programs. I traveled throughout the world this year. I will do 200,000 miles in the plane. But I always try to help people of need. What does Nick Voluntary want to be remembered for? Not number ones, but the impact that I made on the lives of people that go on for generations and generations. Just like this lady right over here. She's given her life to tennis. And that's what it takes. And remember, when people talk about you, that's okay. Nick can't do this, he's full of shit, he's a promoter. You're damn right I'm a promoter. But I prove what I promote. Okay? I prove. So if I didn't promote me, I wouldn't be where I am. If I didn't take chances, I wouldn't be where I am. The Academy today, 500 acres, 9 sports, 1,000 full-time students, new schools, new football stadiums, and 15,000 come through the doors each year. So I sold it for $7 million. Mr. McCormick, great guy, sold it to Ted Forsman, $750 million. And last year, it was sold to William Morris Endeavor, $2.3 billion. What did I get? $135,000 worth of stock. That's okay. That don't bother me. You know why it doesn't bother me? It's what I've done for people. To have people say to me, Nick, you changed my life. I have 18 coaches now that went through the academy that are college coaches. 18. We're in the president's box 2 years ago with my daughter Alex, and a young black lawyer comes up to me and says, Nick, you saved a boy's life. I said, what did I do? He said, this young boy graduating high school, January, driving through the Bronx, a gang jumped in the car and beat his friends up. He vowed to kill him. I said, well, what did I do? He said, the mother called you up. You gave her a proposal she couldn't turn down. He just graduated from Harvard. He's going to medical school. That's what you want to be remembered for. That's what you want to be remembered for. Why? Because that goes on for generations. Now, let's get to coaching. Coaching is a different ballgame today. You have all sorts of grips. You have all sorts of swings. And today, the game is not only made up of how you hit, the mental and physical part of the game today is huge. Why is Djokovic the best player? I think he may not win the titles that some of those above him have done, but he's the most perfect player in the history of tennis, in my estimation. He has no weakness. Zero. Zero. So when people say, I didn't pay money for my son to go out there and jump around and today, the physical and mental part is huge. And without that, it's very difficult. When Jim Curry came to me, his mother wrote me a letter. Dear Nick, I can't believe you're giving my son a scholarship. We thank you. Nick, will you change his grips on the backhand? So this is what I did, everybody. Jim, forget the backhand, baby. Hit the big voluntary forehand, hit the big serve, and knock the shit out of him. Kid number 1 in the world. And his backhand wasn't that bad. However, today, way up here, you can't have a real weakness. To win a Grand Slam today with a weakness, pretty tough to hide a weakness today. So when you're teaching the game, try to get them a little bit of everything. When Tommy Haas said to me at 16, Nick, when do I come to the net? You know what I told him, everybody? Come all the time and find out your own stuff. Why don't young children come in a lot? Because you're going to lob the ball over the head. If you get a person to lob over your head, you're in control of play. Someday, you'll be able to hit him, the overheads. Why don't people come? Youngsters come into the net because they got to tell their mother and father the results. So what do? They stay back and do what they know they can do. In order to serve in volley, in order to come in, you've got to do it at a young age. 2 biggest weapons on the tour today. I was pro at the Woodmont Country Club, at an outstanding Jewish club in Bethesda, Maryland, way back in the 60s. The ladies used to come off the court. Watch me now. Watch. Ain't gonna play with that lady anymore. All she does is this. Drop shot today, everybody. Look what Federer did. Okay, to Berdych. 13 drop shots. And at the end, Berdych says, I'm not running anymore for him. 13 drop shots. The other ball and a cone, Jim Curry, interviewed by Mary Carrillo, great friend of mine, on the Tennis Channel before they'll imagine they were talking about me. And they said, you know what? Look at that swinging volley. Voluntary trademark. 1987, they said Nick couldn't teach a volley. So you know what I did? I told Arias, Sellers, and Curry, swing at the ball, baby. Swing at it. That's it. Remember, be positive with your teaching. Make it simple. Take one segment of the game at a time. Do not try to accomplish 3, 4, 5 things. Now, when you give a lesson, my suggestion is to follow. Have the student fill out the questionnaire. Father and mother fill out the questionnaire. Then you have a meeting with the mother and father separately, their expectations. Then with the child, now you got your data, and have a meeting together. Okay? Very interesting that most people's expectations are so high, it's not going to be very easy to reach. To be a teacher today, there's a difference between a teacher and a coach. A teacher stays at one place, a coach is a jack of all trades. He's a babysitter, travel agent, he's everything. But a teacher today, when you get through the lesson, you go and you have a simple chart, forehand, backhand, boop, 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 and you beep, 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 and a little comment about that day. Every 2 weeks, you send the critique home to the parents. Now, you're teaching, you get sick, but she picks up you. All she does is go to your critique, and she knows what the student is. Okay? Now, at the IMG Academy, this is how we divide the groups. Each group has a coach, head coach. And then you have the tennis director. Under each coach comes the working coaches. Each one has 4 to 5 students. They have them every single day so that we have continuity of teaching. The coach makes the adjustments. The head guy, Roman Goetze, he makes final decisions, and then they bring them to me. Nick, what do you think about this stroke and that stroke? But remember, continuity of teaching. Put this down. When Beyond Borg came to the academy to train for the seniors, I said, Beyond Borg, what made you so good? Listen to what he said. Nick, when I stepped onto that tennis court, everything went out of my mind except to hit the last ball over the net. And that's exactly what made him a winner. 2 girls training, Daddy said to them, run for every ball. Daddy, the ball was way out. Daddy said, there was no ball out. You have 2 sets of eyes, your eyes and your brains. When the eyes see and the brains think if you can get it, you're not going to get it. When the eyes see and the brains see simultaneously and you react, you'll get the balls that you never thought you can get. Who was that man? Richard Williams. Sometimes it would be great to teach tennis with no lines. No lines. Then they wouldn't think, is it in or out, but just run. But that simple tip of telling people, run for every ball, they'll get better. Next, if they can read the ball before it crosses the net and start moving, they'll get better. They will get better. Just by that. So we have a little game. Divide the court to 3 zones. Service line to the net, service line to the baseline, baseline behind. Before the ball crosses the net, have your students say 3. That means they're going to make contact with the ball behind the baseline. 1. They know where it's going to bounce, they stop moving. So if a person can read the ball before it crosses the net, they'll get to be a better player. All right, serve. How do you get better on the serve? By double faulting on your second serve, but by going for it. I judge a player by two things: their serve and return to serve. I'm talking about the second serve, coaches. Every point starts out with a serve and return. All right, you're teaching. Your student serves. They serve. Stand in front of them, and I guarantee you, I'll win this bet 99 out of 100 times. That the student serve, throw a ball to them, they'll catch it. I said, whoa, wait a minute, I just returned it. So a good tip: serve, do a shadow return. Lendl never went to the net. Up, he'd end up in the court, but he'd come back and do a shadow return. Remember, when you serve, the ball is going to come back. Many people, when they get it in the box, they think it's something in there, so they think the point's over. If you have a terrible second serve, get your first serve in. Get it in, baby. Why? The mentality of most people is to attack a second serve, not a first serve. Me, I think that Federer has improved for 3 or 4 reasons. A bigger racket enabled him to offset the heavy spin, hit the ball up on the rise, improve serve, and everybody, Edberg, get your ass to the net. Where did Edberg win? He certainly didn't win from the baseline, everybody. So right now, Roger's playing fantastic. That bigger racket, he stayed in closer, hitting the ball up on the rise. He's 30% now sliced, 70% hitting. Before it used to be 70% sliced and 30% hitting. So the bigger racket helped him. But what serve has made a big improvement to him? The out wide slice to the deuce court. Remember, in serving, if you can get the person to return the ball where you can hit your favorite shot, the forehand, you'll win 70% of every point. So the slice serve is very, very important. I had a guy who said, Nick, if I win a clay court championship, you have a $100,000 bonus. We're in Monte Carlo. We won the semifinals, and then the other semifinals was the Italian Galdense and Thomas Muster. It was hot. Both of them had to go to hospital to be injected because they were so dehydrated. Oh, I said, boy, I can feel that 100,000, baby. Next morning in the gym, bah, bah, bah. I looked over, there's Thomas Muster. The match began. We had match point twice on second serve, and my man double faulted twice, Boris Becker. There went to 100,000, but Boris Becker made his reputation on his serve. Okay, so he lost the match, but what helped Boris be what he is was his big serve. And when I started to work with Boris, we were at the Grand Slam Cup, used to be in Munich, Germany, and on a particular year, I was with Venus and Serena and with Marcelo Rios, and we won a doubleheader. They won both of them. So I was asked to go to dinner with Axel Meyer-Warden, who was the manager for Boris Becker, lawyer there, Boris here, and I'm here. The lawyer looks across the room, he says, Nick, I want you to be Boris's new coach. I turned around, Boris, what do you want to do with your game again? Nick, I want to be back on top. I accepted the job. Christmas time, I sent my coach over Red, Big Red, because Boris was overweight. And I came 2 weeks later. First day, I said nothing. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Boris turned around, he said, Mr. B, can you speak? I said, Mr. B, when I speak to you, I better know what I'm talking about. Mr. B, we're going to get along very well. I'm going to be on 30 for 30. They're shooting the program now. And they interviewed Boris Becker already, and Boris said Nick was a genius because he stood close by saw a little thing, and then walked away. Little things make a difference. Most people can see the big things. Another student many years ago, had to be truthful. Young girl said, she wasn't young, she was about 21, 22, 23. She said, Nick, I want you to coach me again. I said, let me write a letter. I wrote her the letter. Book. Next day she came crying. She said, Nick, why did you say I was fat? You're fat! Started working. No, coach me. We started to work, baby. We worked for 2 months before the Australian Open. She won it. Mary Pierce. Okay? Mary Pierce. And let me tell you how hard she worked. We did certain drills. Feed her a short backhand, she'd run. Deep backhand, short forehand, deep forehand, big. We did that for 2 minutes. The 30-minute, she would 30-second one, she'd skip the rope. We did 7 2-minute intervals 4 times in her 3-hour session. Then she went to the gym. Then I had Swen Gronfield, who is now with Sharapova. He had to sleep in the room next to her because she loved tiramisu. We have to search the room and in the closet to find all the desserts that she's eating. But she won. And I said to her, Mary, I'm going to work with you. Don't look at the sidelines anymore. If you look, you know we're for you. Don't look to the sideline. You get out there, you be a warrior. She did it. And when the semis, she won it. I came, I said, Mary, I have to leave now. I'm doing a big thing for the Super Bowl with Dick Edberg and my good friend Dick Shepp. She started to cry. She says, Nick, how can you leave me now? Because I told you, I'll get you to be on your own 2 feet. And that we did, and she won. So those are the things. You have to know how to talk to the people. And you have to become a listener, everybody. Listen, man. That was difficult for me, really. Better listener you are, they'll give you the answers of what you tell them. A good salesman, when they come in to buy a car, listen to that. Oh, I'd like to have this, I can afford it. Don't say a word. And remember, everybody, when you try to sell your product, you don't know who you are. The product sells itself. Remember that. The product sells itself. And you know, a lot of people say, Nick, do you ever sleep? When I sleep, one eye open, one eye shut, baby. I fly in at 3:30 in the morning. I'm on the court for my 6 o'clock lesson. People say I'm tired of jet lag. Well, bullshit, jet lag. That's a fancy term, man. You make up your mind you're going to do it. Last, I've given a lot of speeches, militaries. I was a guest speaker for the U.S. show in Iraq and Afghanistan with Admiral Mike Mullen. When Admiral Mike Mullen introduced me as lieutenant from the 187th Airborne, I stripped down, baby, and I did 5 minutes of Tai Chi. Brother, I brought it to their feet. And they said, holy shit, this old guy up there doing that. When I spoke at the military academy at West Point, after the speech, the general called me in the room, and he said, Lieutenant, you spoke our F language today. I said, what did I say, General? This is what you said, Lieutenant. If you play the best you can play, get in the corner with losers. You have accepted second place. If our soldiers play the best they can play, they're dead. You play to win. That's the attitude that you use. Going into battle to win. That attitude gives you a chance to win. So when a student comes up to you and say, I drew the number 1 seed, then go out and knock them on their fanny. Okay? Excuses don't pay bills. And when you say, I will win, that attitude will help you win. And if you don't win, you're a winner because you gave everything that you can. The famous remark, the guy who helped me get started in my camps, voted the greatest NFL coach in the NFL Football League, made a statement, My team's never lost. We just ran out of time. Think of that. And that makes you a winner. Winners are determined not only by the score, but by the effort you'll put into things. So if your children and your students do everything they can, mentally and physically, they're a winner. I want to thank you very much for coming. The MAC Club is super. I got it started rolling 13 years ago. We have a great staff here. And remember, coaches, remember, tell yourself you're a winner, and then go out and prove it. God bless you, everybody. If you want to stay in touch with me, go on, follow me Twitter, and like me on Facebook. And a few little quotes. If you don't know where you're going, you'll end up somewhere else. You must be born in mind that the tragedy of life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in not having no goal. To be successful in sports or in life, you must be completely dedicated to your goal. You must be willing to sacrifice all other things to accomplish a level of superiority. Don't be content with being average, baby. Average is as close to the bottom as it is to the top. You must have long-range goals to keep you from being frustrated by short-range failures. To be successful, you have to keep moving. After all, no one stumbles on something sitting down. Challenge your own mind. Stretch and exercise it like any other part of your body. And remember, when you go to sleep tonight, tell yourself 3 stories. How good you were, your opinion. The other person said, not really. If you can tell yourself the truth of what you did today and do it a little better tomorrow, you go up a notch. Thanks, everybody. Oh, by the way, I worked for $3 and now I'm at $900 now. God bless you, everybody.